Hi there, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we are actually going to visualize anomaly detection with maths. Now, if you're watching the series from the beginning, in our last video of anomaly detection, we discussed about make series, series decompose, series outlier, and series decompose anomaly. And while we were using these functions, there were multiple different values which were getting created or calculated. Now, in this video, I am going to showcase those calculations end to end with the help of a notebook that I've created in Python. And I'm running this notebook right now in Jupyter console. You can see over here. And I will be sharing this notebook with you guys as well so that you can just go ahead and run this notebook and match the calculations end to end. Now, the only input which is required for this notebook to work end to end is the series of total count, which is actually the outcome of make series operator. Now, once you give this as an input, if I'll scroll down slightly, you see that it helps me understand the end-to-end workflow. Now, basically, I have given total count as my input, and it is helping me to calculate seasonal values, deseasonalized value, trend, baseline, residual, and rest of the components. Now, I will be explaining the calculations behind all these different components end to end. However, let's just get started with some current data or with some real-time data. Okay, so for that, I'll go back to my browser where I'm using the same query which I have used in my last video, wherein we were trying to track sign-in attempt per user per application for last 28 days. And then I'm giving this total count as an input to series decompose function where seasonality is 7 and the method is line fit. Okay, now before I go ahead and just copy this value from this particular console to our notebook, let me make you read something and then things will make a lot more sense. So this is the documentation of series decompose. And here you see it tells us that this function will basically return these values. And then there is some information which is mentioned over here in terms of calculation. However, the information is not apt in terms of understanding how end-to-end workflow is happening. So that's the reason why I have created this notebook, just to make you understand and match the values as it is. Okay. So now I'll just run this query again and I will take my latest outcome, which is 05, starting with 05 and ending with 17. Okay, so I have copied these values and now I will go to my notebook and I'll just paste these values and I'm going to run the notebook. And now I will just expand this. Okay, so now I have given my total count input and let's just see what exactly is happening. So the very first section is series decompose plus series outlier analysis, which basically means the outcome will be series decompose anomaly, because at the end in my last video, I have explained the outlier value matches with the score of series decompose anomaly. Okay, so this is my raw series. This is just a data frame which is showing my raw series. Now, since we are capturing data for last 28 days, so these values are 28. However, the index typically gets started from 0. That's why you see over here as 27, but this is my raw series. Now, this section is nothing, just a mapping of index value with the actual raw value. Okay, so the 18th element fundamentally is 41, and you can see this is what it is. That's the purpose of this particular chart, nothing else. Okay, now let me paste my total count which I captured, remove this last bracket and replace all the comma with a space. Okay, and now I will copy this value into Excel so that I can show you how seasonality is calculated. Okay, so I have copied my series and now I will just apply a transpose paste and you can see it over here. Now assume that I'm capturing data for 28 days and I have given seasonality value as 7, which was this one, which basically means that after every 7 days, the pattern will be repeated. Okay, so now let's assume the first day of the week is Monday. So in my total count, there will be 4 Monday. In the total count series, there will be 4 Mondays, and these are the respective values, which is 0, 0, 2, 0. Okay, now for each day, likewise, I was showing you for Monday, for each day, the value will be extracted, 4 values will be extracted, and the median will be calculated. Now, how exactly the median is calculated? This is the respective formula. You can go ahead and check that. However, the very first step that you have to do is you have to sort these values. So here it will become 0, 0, 0, and then 2. Okay, so now let's come to our sheet and let's just see the value for seasonal position 0, which is actually, let's say, Monday, the very first day of the week. So 0020, 0002. Okay. Now the median is actually calculated and the median is coming as 0. Then this is for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay. And this is my seasonal median. Okay. However, there were 28 values which are coming in my outcome. How come that is possible? Okay. So now let me show you the catch. Okay. So this is my seasonal value. I will copy this. Okay. And then I will come back to my machine and I will go to the notepad and here I will type seasonal and then I will give this value. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Enter. Then again, enter. Then again, enter. So what you typically see, that seasonal pattern is actually calculated for the seasonality and then the same pattern is repeated. Right? So once I have calculated the seasonal pattern for Monday, it will remain same for all the Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I mean, this is so simple. I hope it's clearly evident now. So now if we go ahead and map the seasonal pattern, so this is the outcome of seasonal pattern with the actual raw data, you can see this is what I'm getting. Right? Now, the next thing is deseasonalization. This basically means that you will subtract the seasonal value from the actual raw series. So 2 has to be subtracted by 5 and then it will become 3. Similarly, 1.0 minus 2.5 is minus 1.5. Okay. So now if I'll scroll down slightly, what you see here right now is deseasonalized series. Okay. So in series decompose, you can see subtract the seasonal series from X, generating the deseasonalized series. So this is my deseasonalized series. Now here what you see, extract the trend component from the deseasonalized series. But the question is what exactly the trend component? Okay. So basically trend is something which is extracted using least square method. This is something which is more related to linear regression. And this is a very common formula. Don't go by the actual notations right now. I'll make this exceptionally simple. B typically means slope and C basically means intercept. Now, if you don't know what linear regression is all about, that's fine. As of now, just understand these calculations and these formulas, and you will be able to understand how exactly the entire calculation is working. Okay. Now I will copy these values first just to showcase how these calculations are fundamentally working. Now I will copy these and I will move it here. And I will just delete my first column. Now I will expand this. Let me just add some borders and let me just increase the font size so that we can see the values. Okay. So this is the actual data that we have, fundamentally speaking. Now this is my index. This was my raw value, the actual total count input. This is the seasonal value calculated by median, and this is my deseasonalized. Now here, when it comes to index, this is something which is xi for you, and this deseasonalized value is di for you. Okay. Now let's just go ahead and understand what exactly is happening. So the very first component is n. N is 28 because the total number of elements inside total count is 28. Then the very first thing that I need is summation of xi into di. Okay. Now what we know what is xi and what is di. So xi into di, this basically means this into this and the complete sum. Now here we will do sum and we will just calculate the sum of xi di, which is coming as 1214. Okay. Now I'll go back here and you can see it is coming as xi di 1214. Then summation of xi, you can see here. Okay. Now summation of xi is this, and we also need summation of di, which will be this. So 378, 57, 1214. 378, 57, 1214. And then what also we need is xi squared. Okay. So this basically means xi into xi. Now this will be 0 into this, now this, and at the end sum of xi squared. Okay. It's coming as 6930. 6930. Now once we have all these values, we will keep them here, and this way we will calculate the slope, which is B and C. You can see the calculation for B and C. Now the question comes how exactly the trend line is calculated. So the formula for trend line is basically the line equation because it's line fit. Now you might have seen y is equals to mx plus c, but here the convention has just been changed. It's trend line c plus bxi, where c is intercept and b is the slope. Okay. Now if I talk about the very first one, let's say about this particular value, which is coming as minus 1.24. Okay. So c is what? Minus 1.24 plus b into xi. Xi is 0. That's why I'm getting this c here itself as my first value in the trend series. And now let's say the first value was minus 1248768. So you can see my trend is minus 1248768. Okay. Now the next part is, if I'll scroll down, deseasonalized series with trend line. So this is the trend line that we have just calculated. Okay. And this was the actual deseasonalized series, right? Now what we will do is we will calculate the baseline. Okay. And baseline is basically the sum of seasonal value plus trend line. Okay. So you can see 2 plus minus this, it gives you this particular value. So baseline is trend plus seasonal. And now what we will see, raw value versus seasonal versus baseline. So you can see these are all different values. Now what is the residual? Residual is basically yi minus baseline, and you will get this particular value. Okay. So this is the difference between residual and this particular section, which is baseline. Okay. Now you can see I'm getting the mapping for residual series as well. Now till this particular part. Okay. Let me show you the residual section as well, which is coming as 1, 2, 4 here. Trend and baseline was minus 1, but the residual is coming as 1.24. You can see it over here, right? So now till this particular part, which I have shown here, till step number 5, everything was related to series decompose. Okay. So if I'll show you that first image of end-to-end workflow, till this particular part, everything was related to series decompose. Okay. Now the next part is series outlier. Okay. So for that, if you remember what we were doing, series underscore outlier, and here we will give residual as my input. And let's just extend these values into a different column, which is outliers. Okay. So now we are getting series outlier outcome as well. And this is my residual. Now, I don't think the values have been changed, but let's just copy this new value into our notebook. Okay. And paste it here and run it again. And let's just expand and go to step number 5, which was residual. Okay. Now in step number 6, I'm sorting the residual, which basically means the lowest value for sorted residual should be minus 6.18. Okay. Let's just see residual series minus 6.18. Yeah. And you can see this is the one. Okay. Now the question comes, how exactly the outlier value is deciding something to be anomalous or not. Okay. Now, fundamentally speaking, if I'll go ahead and show you this documentation of series outliers, okay, it just kind of lists that it uses these two methods to calculate percentile. However, this is not the case, and obviously the actual logic will never be showcased, but by performing some reverse engineering with n number of different samples, this is the actual calculation which I was able to figure out, and this is also at times called normalization score. Okay, so you can follow the typical methods of calculating the 10th and 90th percentile of this particular series. Now the question comes, how exactly it happens. So there is a formula called n-1 into p. Okay, now the percentile is, let's say, 10th percentile. Okay, so let me just show you here. Okay, so it's n-1 into p. So n was 28 minus 1, this becomes 27, and then this will be multiplied with 0.10, and this will become 2.7. This basically means second and third value. Go ahead and read about percentile calculation. You'll come to know about how these values are calculated, and you can see lower index is 2 and upper index is 3 for Q10 percentile. Okay, and then a specific interpolation is also applied and a specific value is calculated, which is typically termed as a scale. And what I have also found is the normalization score or scale is around 2.77 to be very precise. Okay. Now, when it comes to these fractional values, the end-to-end values might not match. There could be a scenario wherein there is a very small difference. But yes, this is something which I have figured out by doing some reverse engineering and using some different constants. But if you will use these values, you will get almost identical values. Okay. So now let's do something. We have sorted residuals and we have mapped them here. Okay. Now, how exactly the score is calculated? Okay. Now, depending upon the RI, which is basically residual value, if it is greater than Q10. Okay. So what exactly Q10 is all about? Q10 is minus 4.6. Okay. If the residual value is smaller than Q10, then this condition is used. If the value is in between this, then there is no anomaly, fundamentally 0. The anomaly score is 0. If the RI value is greater than Q90, then this particular equation is used, and this is how score is calculated. Okay. So now I am getting one positive anomaly and the rest everything is normal. And if I'll scroll down this particular section and if I'll show you the mapping of outlier score, which is basically this one. Now this score is coming after this particular calculation. And if you see, I can see just one specific anomaly, and that's a positive anomaly because this 1.5 is again the threshold, if you remember, which we were defining in series decompose anomaly. And if anything is beyond 1.5 and positive, then it is a positive anomaly. And if something is less than the actual value expected minus 1.5 times, then it is the negative anomaly. Now here you see the raw value is around 42. The seasonal component is 2.5. This is 3.2. And then I'm getting all these different set of values. And this is something which I'm getting when I have given the threshold of 1.5 or greater. Okay. So now let me show you this exact entry on Microsoft portal. Okay. So here, now I will remove these two functions and I will say extend. And here I will say anomalies score baseline equal to series underscore decompose anomalies. My series is total count 1.5 comma 7 comma line fit. Okay. And here I will also say mv expand time generated total count anomalies score baseline, and here I will say where anomaly equal to 1. So now you can see 42 is the total count. Anomaly is coming as 1. Score is 9.8. Baseline is 5.7. And here you can see score is 9.8 and baseline is 5.7. And the last section is to show you the actual anomaly. Okay. And then this is the miscellaneous section. If you want, you can go ahead and review it. Now, wherever you will keep this Jupyter notebook in the same location, it will also create two files for you. Okay. PDF file just to see how exactly these calculations are working. You can see. So you can fundamentally give any series and get the outcome. Okay. This was all about knowing the maths behind anomaly detection. In the next video, I'm going to talk about dashboards. So if you think that this channel is helping you to learn anything new, please feel free to subscribe and share this video with your technical community. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.